This show is part of the RetroZap.com podcast network.
Now, prepare yourself for a Scoundrel Special Edition.
Greetings, Scoundrels. This is Dennis, and I have my friend and co-host Darth Taxus with me. And tonight we are going to discuss, or actually I should say this morning, we are going to discuss our experience at FAN EXPO Dallas.
Yeah, salutations, everyone. We had a lot of fun, and, you know, I guess I call it fun-exhaustion, because you have fun, but you're exhausted at the end of it.
Right.
You know?
Right. Now, normally we record these shows in the evening, but due to some chaotic weather we had, this is take 2 on this show. So we're recording over a cup of coffee. Yeah. And I guess the other note to make is that Taxus and I make up 2/3 of the hosts of Starships, Sabers, and Scoundrels. Our other co-host, Jay Krebs, will not be joining us this morning. She elected not to make the commute from Ohio and didn't attend FAN EXPO Dallas with us.
Yeah, that's kind of weird because, I mean, Dennis and I are dedicated little scoundrels to doing whatever we have to bring you quality content. Well, at least halfway doing whatever we have to. But what's up with that, Jay?
Yeah, way to take one for the team. Well, anyway, in all seriousness, Jay will be back with us next week on what is promising to be a fairly big show.
Yes.
That no one's going to want to miss.
Yes.
So with that out of the way, let's get into our discussion of FAN EXPO Dallas.
Sure.
So, Taxus, let's start with some of our general thoughts about the about FAN EXPO Dallas. What did you think?
As far as the convention, kind of just in general, I know you and I had remarked that we felt like it had a better flow to it this time around, and that it just I knew it was crowded, but it just didn't feel as like pressed against everybody and hard to get to anywhere. I except for that one moment in the autograph hall when Chuck Norris was out there and all the Star Wars stars were out there and all the, I think, Tom Cavanaugh, you know, and Pee Wee Herman, you know, that was impossible to get through because they were all in one area. And then on the flip side of like where Chuck Norris was, in the autograph section was just all the not just, but I mean the voice actors and such. And that was a little more exposed to a general open area that was easier to circumnavigate, you know, because all the cosplayers were there too and everything. So yeah, that was about the only real traffic issue I encountered during this year. It was a lot better, a marked improvement.
Yeah, I don't know if they redid the layout of the expo because there was also a volleyball tournament happening down there at the convention center or not, or if this was just a redesign. I hope they stick with this layout going forward. Yes. It was a much more condensed area, which would sound like it would be more crowded, but they took advantage of a third floor and some conference rooms that were up there to host some of their panels, and those rooms were plenty big to do it. And then they built a theater at the end of the floor by just putting up some large black curtains that and that's where they hosted some of their biggest panels. I know Stranger Things was down there, for instance, and it was just easier to get to. You didn't have to walk all the way to the other end of the convention center to attend some of the panels. Then the other thing they did is they added additional food options.
Yes.
In a community area that was behind kind of the photo op cosplaying autograph area. Yeah. And I know you and I didn't really discover those until late in the game. But the other advantage was they had a lot of seating there. And it's not that there isn't any place to eat at the convention center otherwise, but there aren't that many options normally, and there isn't a lot of places to sit. And again, you have to leave the convention itself and kind of go halfway down the convention center. So having that area that was dedicated to that food was nice, and it's something that I saw a lot of people take advantage of.
Yeah, and it didn't look overly crowded either there. I mean, I remember last year we had some difficulty finding any seating at all. I think the seating was all out in the main hallway, like the access point. I might also note too that the initial procedure of getting your wristband, I think that they redesigned that to be more efficient too. They
had a huge area for that too.
Yeah, and instead of like, I think in previous years you had to go into a room, then leave that room, and then go get in line to enter the halls. But this time they had the room that you went in there to get your wristband immediately fed out into a hallway that led into it. You know what I mean? So it wasn't like a cross-flow traffic happening. Everybody moved through the lines very quickly. It was very well done. So
yeah, well, so kudos to the organizers for that one, because they made the flow of it work a lot better. All right, well, we'll return to some other general things about the con in a bit, but let's get into some of the highlights. Yeah. I know one of your missions this year was Billy Dee Williams.
Whoa, yeah.
Whoa, yeah. That's always a big one with us, is if you've been paying attention to our sky stalking segments. But let's start with the panel on Saturday. I know that was really your highlight of the day.
Yeah, I was going to try to get the autograph, and we just didn't have time on Saturday. And just like I said, the sheer crush of people. So I said, you know what? We're at least making this panel. We're going. So like any good conventioneer should know, if you're going to go to a panel, you should probably at least build in a half hour of getting there early so you can make sure you get a good seat. And I did. And I got in there, and the crowd was excited for Billy. And he came out there, and he was just so smooth, suave, and he just encapsulates so much knowledge, and I guess you'd just say art. Like, the man almost is art. You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, he had so many interests and that he discussed during the panel, and it was really fascinating to listen to. But of course, he knew how to have a little good, back and forth with people, and But I decided, hey, I'm going to go ahead and ask him a question. And so I made my way up to the microphone, and unfortunately, the first guy up there kind of stole my thunder with my question, so I had to think fast and kind of redesign my question so it would still work. And then I also asked him a follow-up, and it was more geared towards mentorship, and maybe his influence on the younger generation.
All right, let's take a listen.
What's your name?
Taxus, I'm sorry. And I've got a double-sided got a question about instruction. When you met Donald Glover, how did you have to teach him how to be cool at all, or was he already, at least not as much as you are, did he have a little bit of coolness that could approach Lando?
I just told him to be charming.
And also, do you think your musical interests influenced your son to be such a phenomenal bass player?
Do I have an influence on Corey?
Yeah, being such a great bassist.
Oh yeah, he's a wonderful bassist, but he's been doing that since he was in his teens. He used to have a little band. I think now at this juncture in his life, he gets a whole bunch of guys together, and they sit and they run through sluts. In fact, he sent me something for my birthday, a birthday greeting, which I haven't heard yet, because when I'm staying in the hotel, I couldn't access it. So right after I talk to you guys, I'm going to take a moment and listen to it. But that's my first love, my son. And I have a wonderful dog, who's my second love.
For those of you who don't know, because obviously he's a Corey fan, Corey's son was in Return of the Jedi. He played Klaatu, one of Jabba's guards. He was on set with Billy doing stand-in work. And Corey used to play music for Mark and Carrie and Harrison and you in the trailers on set out in, where'd you film Jedi? In
Arizona?
Yeah, in Death Valley, right? Is it Death Valley?
No, that wasn't Death Valley.
Mojave.
You guys.
Mojave Desert is in California.
The only thing I knew, I was in the desert. There was a lot of sand.
I don't think it was the Mojave Desert.
Well, that was a fun discussion. I'm glad you got to ask him a question.
Yeah, that was great. And you know what? I'm not sure. Is the Return of the Jedi, was that the skiff scene? I always thought that Buttercup Valley was part of the Mojave Desert. At least I seem to remember from like that movie, Lights, Camera, and Action show that, Spock used to host. It was on Nickelodeon and everything. I could have sworn he said it was the Mojave Desert, but I don't know.
Yeah, my geography is not quite up to par for that. So I know you had, you took advantage to get some footage, or no, I shouldn't say footage, but of some recordings of the other questions that some of the other fans asked, and there was some variety there.
Yeah. One of them, I guess these are the two that actually won a little contest to win the album that Billy Dee sung on, and another album of him doing poetry, spoken word kind of stuff. And the first winner, he asked him if basically Lando's escapades with women question and how he might benefit from any knowledge that Lando had. So I think Billy Dee answered this one very, very well. Let's listen.
Hi, my name is Jacob, and I was wondering, how many chicks do you think Lando seduced, and can I get some tips?
Well, I don't know. Lando doesn't. He would never refer to a woman as a chick. First. He would be a lot more respectful. And by the way, it's none of your damn business. How many chicks that
Heard that, I think.
Yeah, but
I
I'm
thought you
saying
said
it's
something.
none of his damn business.
Well, it sounds like he handled that with his usual grace and charm. So that was fantastic. So good on him.
Yeah. And then the runner-up, this was a great one. Hey, let's settle an age-old question. What's better, ranch or blue cheese dressing? And you can find that he has a little diplomatic swing on things.
My name's Hayden, and continuing on with the hard-hitting questions. Ranch or blue cheese, which is better? Decided definitively once and for all.
Ranch or blue cheese?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
He told us to be original, so it's interesting.
I love it.
I like blue cheese better. You like blue cheese? Or ranch?
Ranch myself, but since you said blue cheese, then that's my answer.
I'll tell you, I like Thousand Island.
Just in the future, if Lando asks you if you like something, you say yes!
Well, leave it to Billy Dee to come up with a diplomatic solution to that one.
Yeah.
Not exactly what I expected him to be asked at this panel, but to each their own. So after the panel, I know on Sunday you had an opportunity to get his autograph. So why don't you tell us about that?
Yeah, I decided, the Scoundrels media group that was with us, the social media crew, I told them, I said, okay, look, we need to get through the line fast. We need to strike hard and get their place in line first off. So right when the doors opened on Sunday, we went straight to the autograph line for Billy Dee. And it took about 2.5 hours for him to actually arrive, which is fine. No problem. And it was so worth it. I got up there and I was, just so many photo options, but I had gone ahead and decided, or I had purchased one of the big, I think it's like a 12 by 18 or something like that, or 8. It's a big photo of Lando from as one of the Fan Expo exclusive items you could get, and which they got some cool stuff on that exclusive items list. I'm just saying. So I took it up there and he signed it, and I made sure to get the little authentication thing, and I had a little follow up about getting the opportunity to meet his son Corey, and he said, Corey is such a great man. He is just one of the greatest men that I've ever known. It's like, wow, man, this is a good dad. Just wonderful man. So that was so fun, and meeting a legend too.
Yeah, I'd hoped to meet him, but it just didn't work out with my schedule because I was only able to make the convention on Sunday. I mean, I alluded to the weather at the top of the show, but God, we've had a lot of it go through in the past 2 weeks, and I had some hail issues to take care of on Saturday, and so I was only able to attend Sunday. And I popped by his table a couple times, but with the limited amount of time I had, I didn't really feel like I could spend a lot of time in line for any one autograph in order to so that I could take more things in. So I unfortunately missed that, but he gets around quite a bit. I mean, I know you're always reporting all the locations he shows up every year at these conventions, so I'm hoping they'll be in this area again. I can meet him then.
Oh, sure.
But so as I just said, I showed up on Sunday for the first time, and I caught up with you while you were in line for Lando.
Yeah.
But one of the first things that was on my agenda for the day was I wanted to attend the Carrie Ulbus panel, and he was, of course, the star of The Princess Bride. He played Wesley in The Dread Pirate Roberts, and that was a early afternoon panel, and again, it was up on that third floor. They had a huge room, which was just perfect for it. He showed up with a moderator, and quite honestly, other than having the guy around to say the panel's starting now and we're going to take some questions and now we're done, I'm not sure what that guy's job was. Carrie didn't need him in the least bit. Now, I didn't really get it. I tried to get some audio there, but it just has come out way too faint to be useful. But I'll just share a couple of the stories real quick that he told. The first one, how do I put this delicately? Andre the Giant played Fezzik on the show, and he was part of Bassini's crew, and they were recording the scene from The Princess Bride where they were up on the wall of the palace looking down at the courtyard, and they're trying to formulate their plan on how they're going to rescue the Princess Buttercup. And Wesley's just woken up from taking Miracle Max's pill, and Andre is delivering that line about don't pester him. He's been mostly dead all day. And I guess he got through the don't bother him. He's been mostly dead all, and then he just let loose with this massive fart that apparently they went back later and timed at 16 seconds is how long it lasted.
Oh my gosh.
Did you hear that?
And Carrie said that the person that everyone felt the most sorry for was the sound guy, because he had the headphones on and all this came right over the mic and it was practically blowing the guy's eardrums out. And I can't do this story justice. I simply cannot. But he had everybody just rolling with that. I don't know. I'm not one usually to tell many fart jokes, but that was just that was what he led off with, and he does a great Andre the Giant impression. Really sold the story.
Oh wow!
He followed that up by talking about how they were. Right off the bat, within a week of shooting, they were, I can't remember exactly which scene he said they were doing, but they were going up into the hills and mountains somewhere in England to record some of the scenes that led up to the fire swamp.
Yeah, sure.
And the issue they had was that there was no vehicle on set big enough to get Andre the Giant up there.
Yeah.
Huge guy.
Yeah.
And so they had asked Andre, what do you do to get around on your farm? And he said, well, he has an ATV. So they brought him an ATV. Now, at this point, they were beginning to wonder if he actually had an ATV or he just wanted an ATV, because once they got this ATV for Andre, he rode it everywhere on set, and he would disrupt filming because they'd be shooting a scene, then all of a sudden you'd hear and then there'd Andre be going by. And they were getting ready to film a scene, and Andre comes cruising up in his ATV, and he says, it says to Carrie, want to try my toy? I can't do the impression. Carrie did it really well. And Carrie said, no, I'm about to film a scene, Andre. And so they did some filming, and then Andre came back up a little bit later and says, come on, you want to. And at that point, Carrie knew he was going to have to give in because Andre was just going to keep showing up.
Yeah.
And so finally he did, and he took off the mask. I guess he was in the full Dread Pirate Roberts regalia at the time. And he got on the ATV and he took off, and as he was going over a rock, his toe got caught between, I think, the clutch and the brake pedal or something, and just snapped. He knew it was broken right away.
Gee.
And that was just the beginning of the story. He did this incredible impression of the set nurse that was on there taking a look at it. He did a great impression of Rob Reiner responding to this whole thing, and he was going about how afraid he was going to get fired and how he tried to cover for it, but eventually he had to own up to it. And he learned. That's when he learned that directors know absolutely everything that's happening on set, because Rob Reiner knew about it before Carrie could even walk up and tell him about it.
Right.
And so just from there, I'll just say, if you get an opportunity to see Carrie Ulwes at a panel at any one of these comic conventions, you have to take advantage of it. The guy, like I said, he would start a story, and that was the panel. It was just him telling all these stories about the Princess Bride. He did great impressions, again, of Andre the Giant, Rob Reiner, the Nurse, Bill Paxton, Mel Brooks, because he talked a little bit about Twister and Robin Hood Men in Tights. And then perhaps one of the best moments came when they started the Q&A portion of the panel. Yeah. And the second fan up there, she just got really flustered because she was having, she couldn't overcome that she was getting to talk to him. And then she kind of lost her train of thought. So Carrie Ulwes just came down off the stage and gave her a hug and asked her if she had collected her thoughts. And she just kind of shook her head. And he said, well, then how about we just leave it with us? As you wish. And everyone in the crowd, just their hearts melted. So
right. Wow.
But that was fun. That was one of my highlights of that. Now, you and I both had an opportunity to meet C-3PO himself, Anthony Daniels.
Yeah, we did. So one of the benefits of getting in line early, when we were waiting for Billy D, I looked over and saw that Anthony Daniels had was already at his booth, and he was signing, and the line was really short and moving quick because it was still early. So, of course, whenever you're in these situations, I think you'll find that others standing in line with you will be really, I guess, cool about letting you sneak over and do something like this, just as long as you let them know what you're doing. And so, of course, I asked for permission. Everybody was like, yeah, sure. So I ran over there. And there were so many photo options. I was like, oh, which one do I get? Which one do I get? Oh, no, the line's moving too fast. I'm pressured. And then I almost grabbed the one of him sitting in between all the C-3PO costume pieces because of that failed bit of answer that I gave to Jay's question about how many pieces of make up his costume on episode 50. And so, but I decided to grab one that I think is one of the more iconic scenes for me, not only visually, but, sonically, because the music was so mysterious and sad. And so just kind of conveyed the feeling of C-3PO being lost in a wasteland of Tatooine. And so it's that scene where he's walking up the sand dune and there's the crate dragon skeleton. And so I got up to Mr. Daniels. He was, very congenial, and of course, shook my hand. And I told him wow, this is awesome. And I said, yeah, this scene was one of my favorite in Star Wars. I mean, it's kind of underrated, but it's really great. And I said it kind of reminded me when I was a child living in South Texas. Not so much sand, but more desolate. Not really. It's just really kind of flat and nothing in some spots. And bones everywhere. Why are there bones around here? And he said, oh, well, that's interesting. You know what? Do you know the story behind these in the picture? I said, what, the crate dragon? He said, yes. I said, no. Why don't you tell me about it? He said, well, I will. And so he told me that George Lucas himself had bought those bones that were a prop from Disney in one of their movies. It was, I think, called the We Lost a Dinosaur or The Lost Dinosaur or something. So he noted, kind of with a little twist of irony now, how funny it is that now Disney technically has bought them back.
Yeah. I wonder, does Disney really still have, or I guess Lucasfilm still have those bones somewhere? Is that the ranch or somewhere? I mean, what would you have done with those? I mean, if George went to the trouble of buying them, I guess he would have kept them somewhere.
Yeah, sure.
Maybe it'll show up in his museum.
Yeah, and I guess they changed the way the skull looks in one of the special editions, if I remember correctly. So
really,
so this is the original one that actually, and it's weird because I always thought from the angle of looking at it that it was like a crate dragon had one big eye, But then when I was looking at this picture real closely, I went, oh, epiphany. I've been looking at this thing wrong the entire time. And now I see the dinosaur face on the side on the skull facing towards the right. I'd previously never seen that. Of course, the scene moves so quickly,
Sure.
So, yeah, I'm always discovering new things about Star Wars, Dennis. That's amazing.
Yeah, well, that was one of the brilliant things in that movie. It was that he added that skeleton and it added that element of whimsy. And it's just, just a prop. I mean, he could have had, it wasn't even necessary to build in the film. He just could have had C-3PO wander across the desert.
Sure.
And the skeleton then, but thinking about it, that skeleton kind of adds to the threat of the crate dragon noise that Kenobi makes later.
Yeah.
Now, the only issue there is that you don't know exactly what that noise is that Ben Kenobi is making. It's just something that startles the Sand People. But right. But so I also got a chance to meet him when I caught up with you in the Billy Dee Williams line on Sunday morning. You and I were chatting, and we talked to a few other people that were in line and hanging out. And then you pointed out that Anthony Daniels was right over there.
Yeah,
and there was only a few people in line, so I ran over there real quick. And the two guys that were in front of me were getting collections of memorabilia signed, and I'm assuming some of it was for resale or distribution or whatever.
Right.
And they weren't really chatting with Mr. Daniels, and so I picked out the picture of C-3PO from The Force Awakens with the red arm. Mainly because it was a nice, crisp, clean picture. C-3PO took up most of the frame, and I figured he would use a lighter color, which he did. He used a yellow pen to sign it, and it would show up really well on the picture. And so that's just a tip when you're picking out a picture for an autograph. Pick something that's really light that a black marker will look good on, or pick something that's dark that a nice silver, yellow, gold marker will look good on. But anyway. So I presented that to him, and I'd already his handler had already taken my name down because I was getting it personalized to me. And so he said, "It's nice to meet you." And I told him that I was really excited to meet him, and that I was been a fan. Star Wars was the first movie I'd seen when I was 3 years old, and this was just kind of the road stuff that I'm sure he's heard time and again. But where I really caught his interest, he was flattered that I said I was excited to meet him. But what I really caught his interest was, I told him that one of the really cool things was that when my oldest son was about 4 years old, 3 or 4 years old, I took him to see Star Wars in concert, which was that traveling concert that was all over, that went through North America and Europe, all around the world. And, that was one of his big introductions to Star Wars. And, Mr. Daniels hosted that. And that really caught his attention. He looked up, his eyes got real big, and and this surprised me. He told me, he goes, that was the favorite thing he had done associated with Star Wars. Wow. And the reason being is because when he's filming the movies, as great as that has been for him, there's no audience feedback while he's giving his performance. He always, he's been to the theaters when fans have been watching, and so he's seen that. But while he was up there on stage at the concerts, he was getting that vibe back from the crowd about how much they were enjoying it. And so we talked about this for about 10 minutes, and he just, there was no line behind me when we started, but all of a sudden there was a line because he was being very gracious with his time and talked to me about these concerts and how much he enjoyed it, and how he was very doubtful that kids were going to enjoy the Star Wars concerts because they were just too young and they wouldn't be able to sit through it and they wouldn't know the music. But then when he would look out over the crowds, he'd see all these children that were just in a trance watching the show. Because if you don't know what these concerts were, it was a full orchestra performing the music, and then they would have on the world's then largest traveling HD screen footage from the movies playing in the background. And I know my son loved it. And so again, that was, it was a fun moment. It was, he shook my hand. He said he said it was really nice to meet me. And, it was a great moment. I did not anticipate enjoying meeting him as much as I did.
Yeah. I have a feeling he enjoys Texas because he seems to come here a lot,
Yeah.
And so
well, if he's back next year, I'll definitely go. I'll go get another autograph.
Yeah, sure.
It was that much fun to talk to.
Yeah.
Well, later that Sunday, you and I both got to attend his panel. It was kind of the closing event, for the most part, of FAN EXPO Dallas.
Yes, it was. And we, again, got there with about 30 minutes to spare. I really like how they did the main stage this year. It was really easy to get in and out of again, ample seating. And so, and he, of course, came out, and the crowd erupted in cheers, and everybody stood on their feet. And boy, I'll tell you what, just from the get-go, what a consummate performer. And he's got such a dry wit humor about him. And I love how, because the show opened up playing this clip that an Italian fan had made of him, of Tchaikovsky, one of the selections from the Nutcracker Suite, over C-3PO scenes. And he said, wasn't that nice? That was a fan in Italy that made that for me. So I have fans here right now, and I'd have to ask you, what have you done for me?
Yes.
And of course, it was a roundabout way eventually of thanking everybody for being so supportive of the movies and everything that has basically made his career, because without that, then he wouldn't get to do what he's doing now. And
because he pretty much said that Star Wars is all he does. It's given him a career, it's allowed him to travel, it's allowed him to go places, and he hasn't had a need to really do anything else. And if you think about it, he's been in every single movie so far. Of course, we don't know if he'll be in Solo, and that was teased. He was asked that during the show, and he was very non-committal about that. But he did voice work for the Clone Wars. He was on an episode of Rebels.
Yeah, a couple at least, I thought.
Yeah, and then he's done a number of video games. He got to do the Star Wars concert. He's almost always been the voice of 3PO for everything that's come out.
Yeah. And hey, he doesn't seem like he regrets it at all. You know what I mean? Like, some people would, I think, feel pigeonholed by something like that and be a little resentful.
Right.
I don't get that at all with him. And I think his stage work, this is a man who literally could do anything, I feel, acting wise.
Certainly.
And the fact that he continues to do this character just shows his deep, I believe, love of who the character is. And it kind of makes me, really take a new look at C-3PO, I suppose.
Indeed. Yeah, so one of the things you'd mentioned is that we showed up 30 minutes early so we could get some decent seats. Now, here's the funny thing, is they allowed all the premium pass holders to go in first, which is they do with every panel, and that's part of the deal when you buy a premium ticket.
Sure.
You and I were part of the media coverage, and so we had basically standard access to everything.
Yeah.
We got third row seats, and those really didn't come with any advantage as far as, because he was all over the theater. He walked up and down the aisles. He was coming down rows of seats to take questions, and the entire show was question driven.
Yes.
So let's get into some of those. The first one was from a fan who he basically wanted someone to squeal as loud as possible for him, and it was this woman did it, and he wandered over, and Mr. Daniels said, "Okay, so what is your question?" And she said, "Well, actually, my husband has a very good question." Mr. Daniels made him squeal in order to tell it.
Yeah, he's not going to let him off the hook that easy, right?
Right, and it happened to be about C-3PO's reaction to seeing Luke Skywalker show up on Crate in The Last Jedi.
Yeah, which is something we've actually talked about on our shows too. Like, there was something a little weird about that, his reaction to it. And I think he gave a really, really good answer that I think settles everything in my mind. So let's listen.
What is your question, and Eve?
Okay, Eve. So this is the last Jedi question.
Do you see how much preamble? I mean, how much time have you got? Suddenly you have the marriage guidance thing, and then you have, this is a question. Your question is?
Okay, while on Crate, when Master Luke shows up at the end, you guys are on the Rebel base on Crate, he shows up projecting himself, although we don't know that at this point. Normally I would expect C-3PO.
Oh, sorry.
Normally I would expect C-3PO to go, "Master Luke, I can't believe it's you," or something along those lines.
Oh no.
I just need the whole audience to see your impersonation of C-3PO.
"Master Luke, I can't believe it's you."
Can I sue for this kind of thing? Okay, and so I didn't go,
"Master Luke, I can't believe it's you."
Right. Okay. Which leads us to your question.
My question is, because you didn't have that reaction whenever he was first seated, you kind of had this blank look on your face like normal C-3PO, but you didn't react. So when he's leaving, you say, "Master Luke." And my question is, did you have any recognition of him whenever he first arrived, or because he was projecting himself, you didn't know? What's your opinion on that? I'm not.
That was going to be my question. Okay. It's actually a very good question, surprisingly. Because the point was that after all these years of not seeing Luke Skywalker, and how brilliant it was to be back at Mark Hamill again after all these years, the point was that 3PO, even 3PO, it's said in the script, even 3PO knows this is not a time to go, Master. It was a time to acknowledge that actually his master was doing something very serious, very brave, very heroic, and that the master was no longer the boy, the young man that 3PO had known so many years before, but he had matured into this extremely important and wonderful Jedi Knight who was about to do something serious, and it was not a moment to go,
Master Luke, what are you doing here?
You do Jar Jar Binks as well, don't you?
I hope not.
Very, very good question. So that is the serious answer. Pretty good, huh?
Okay. Well, that was fun. It was nice to get a little bit of insight on the script and what the thoughts were going into that.
Yeah, totally. And then later, somebody else asked a question. A very young fan asked the question, what were his favorite Carrie moments? And he went through a few at first, and some of the more funny things when they were doing A New Hope. But one of the funniest little quips was when he was having dinner with her after Star Wars had been released, and they were at a restaurant. And it was just a little exchange that I think Carrie really enjoyed.
And then the film, of course, opened. And I was in Hollywood for some reason, and Carrie and I went to dinner. She took me to dinner at a restaurant on Hollywood Boulevard called Dar Maghreb. It's a Moroccan restaurant, and there was a manager in full Moroccan gear, and he was all over us, and absolutely loved it. And he was saying to Carrie, I really loved your film. I thought you were terrific. You were this and that. And she carried on talking, and then he said, there was only a couple of things I didn't like. The droids. Carrie really laughed. She doubled his tip. You see, English people are very honest, and I think because he was English, he didn't get the magnificence of C-3PO, human cyborg relations. He just thought, everybody talks like that in England. Well, fortunately they didn't, so...
If I could have been a fly on the wall for that one, that would have been... I just would have been priceless.
And there was something, some stories he had that were a little more recent with the recent movies.
Yeah, because he really got into talking about Carrie Fisher and her presence on set. Mm-hmm. And if anything, if you got to see Carrie in a convention prior to her death, she always had a can, a bottle, a Coke with her. I mean, there's that infamous footage that's online of her giving a fan a huge smooch because he gave her a Coke. I think that was from Salt Lake Comic Con one year. But so anyways, he was talking about, wherever Carrie was, there was a Coke, and how it almost became part of the set.
Yeah, he felt like he was filming a soda pop commercial.
Yeah, right.
Then this young lady was asked up on stage to ask her question, and she was dressed as Agent Peggy Carter. She had a really good question about C-3PO and his pain thresholds.
Can 3PO feel pain? Almost constantly. 3PO is sentient enough to know that he has near human qualities, maybe superhuman qualities of understanding, of empathy, of caring. And you ask if he feels pain? He feels your pain. He doesn't feel Darth Vader's pain because he's on the good side, and Darth Vader clearly is anything. So, does he feel pain? Yes, he does. He's terrified of being. Well, I suppose when you're melted down, that must hurt. And it's no wonder he's afraid of being melted down, isn't he?
He gets decapitated in every film.
He gets what?
Decapitated.
Does he?
Twice.
He gets disjointed because he goes. I must admit that in The Empire Strikes Back, when I turned the page and saw the bit where he's blown up, I thought, oh, that's my career gone. There we are. It wasn't, thank goodness. George always loved torturing 3PO. I think genuinely he wanted to torture some of the other actors, but he couldn't get away with it. Do you know what I mean? Because they scar more easily. But yes, he does feel pain, and he has tremendous sympathy and empathy for people, and that's why he cares that people behave nicely and are nice to each other and well-behaved and well-mannered. It's a very good question. Do you think he feels pain?
I thought so, but I was wondering.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel pain sometimes?
Sometimes.
Okay, thank you so much for your question.
Now, see, that's an interesting question. I wouldn't have thought to ask.
Yeah.
It's and she's right. When 3PO is getting carried up the ramp by Chewbacca and The Empire Strikes Back, and his head keeps hitting the, on there, ouch, that hurts. Stop you. And she's right, but it's a droid. Are they designed to feel pain? And there's other instances in the movies of the droids being, feeling pain. There's the torture scene of the droid in Jabba's palace, and it's kind of why would you program droids to do that? But, I guess it's, but
it's sort of like if you put your hand on a, hot stove, without your nerves, your brain wouldn't be able to tell you to move it away. Maybe something like that. So, yeah. And, then we had this beautiful little girl who, before we went into the hallway, she was outside the hall with us waiting in line with her parents, and she was dressed in a Kylo Ren costume. I thought was pretty funny. And earlier we had met a friend of ours, Scott Green, and he'd made some buttons for the convention, one of Numa and another of Ahsoka. Ahsoka at the end of Rebels, and they're really cool. So he gave us a handful of them, and we were passing them out along the way. And so I saw this girl here and asked her parents, hey, do you mind if I give her a couple of these buttons? And she absolutely loved them. So good job, Scott. But she got the chance to ask him a question, too, while we were in there. But she got to ask him the question about where did he get his red arm? And, of course, everybody knows, well, hopefully everybody knows in the Star Wars fandom where he got the red arm. Was from that other droid in the comic. But that gave him an opportunity to talk about the comic book.
Yeah, and how much trouble he gave J.J. Abrams in the process of it. That was fun. I mean, that every interaction he had with the fans in the panel was a fun moment. I mean, he was directing the kids like they were on a set to look at the camera, and the kids would start talking. He's like, I didn't say action, and he was teasing everyone, giving a hard time, and he had so much fun with the crowd. It was just what I was saying earlier with Carrie Ulwest, these panels, they could show up and they could go through the motions, but they really put something into it each time. They really got into the fan interaction, and they had fun stories and fun things to do. One last thing about Anthony Daniels, we'll move on to another topic, is he ended the show talking about those Star Wars concerts again. And I didn't get a chance to ask a question during his panel, but he didn't even bring me up by name or anything. Of course, he wouldn't really have remembered, but I was like, well, I felt like I somehow contributed to that panel because he ended the show talking about the Star Wars concerts and how they were the favorite thing that he'd done with Star Wars because of the fan interaction and the fan response. And so that was just cool. That was a nice moment for me going that. So let's get into one of the biggest things that these cons are known for, and that would be the merchandise. As with most comic conventions, Fan Expo Dallas had quite the exhibitors floor. What were some things that you shopped for or stood out to you?
Well, I think I always look for more unique items than anything you could get off of Amazon. You might say. Right. Of course, the myriad of Saber vendors there is always fascinating to see. There's a lot of people there with cosplay items now. It's a good place to at least get cards for vendors, so you could follow up with them later about some cosplay items if you're into that. But I came away with at least some prints. I know earlier I mentioned the Lando one I bought. That was a Fan Expo exclusive, and I wanted to take advantage of that. But I found some prints from this one vendor, and there were a few different nice Star Wars-esque prints that the artist had made himself. One's like of Kylo and Rey, and it kind of projects their image through the Force, sort of like that Charles Soule Vader comic, how we see Anakin like that. but not quite all the way. And there were a couple others. I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. But he was doing a 4 for $20 deal, and I said, well, I don't know. And then one of my daughters pointed. There was a anime style version of Rick and Morty, kind of in hip hop positions, and it says "Get Swifty," and I was like, sale. so I grabbed the 3 Star Wars and grabbed the Rick and Morty one, and yeah, those are really awesome. And then later I came across an author who, let me get this, who did this book about haunted houses, and my daughter was like, oh, Dad, let's get that book. I said, oh, okay, all right, we'll check it out. And her name is Misty Kiesler, and she was kind enough to autograph it for me too. And for Lord Taxus, as you haunt on your own with appreciation, Misty Kiesler. It's a really cool book. I think I'll pull it out for Halloween and kind of leave it as a coffee table item just to get the feels, you know? But,
sure. Yeah, well, again, since I was only there on Sunday, you know, there was still a nice variety of things that were available to see. And I didn't do a lot of shopping as much as I did looking. One of the advantages of going to these conventions is that you can see things, even if you don't buy them, they're there, you can see them, and, you know, you look at them. I can't remember whose booth it was, but I wandered up and they had classic G.I. Joe figures.
Oh, yeah.
You know, there was a classic Duke, you know, in mint condition on card, going for about $300. So it was not, I don't collect G.I. Joe, but still, my brothers and I had plenty of those back in the day, and it was fun looking at them. You know, there was G.I. Joe, there was a Snake Eyes, a Scarlet, and some of the other classic characters. So that was fun to see.
I think that was the one that also had all the Raiders of the Lost Ark figures.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah. They had plenty of those. I suspect they had more on Saturday, but I didn't see as many of the vintage Kenner Star Wars action figures as I thought I would. There was some, you know, scattered throughout in booths, but in the past I've been able to go to some of these places and see like the collection of the loose figures, and I didn't see nearly as much of that this year. But, you know, Funko has become such a big deal, and there was plenty of vendors that had a lot of Funko Pops. You know, some of them that, while not impossible, aren't as easy to find these days.
Yeah, one of the convention exclusives was that Bob Ross Funko.
Yeah, it was white, but you could paint yourself. Yeah. There was that, and then ThinkGeek was there and had a number of interesting collectibles. They had their line of Star Wars Tiki cups.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Now, I nearly picked up one of those. I decided not to at the last minute. They were also selling the larger scale BB-8 replica droid.
Yes.
Not the Sphero version, but the bigger one. And they had run a number of deals on that throughout the day, and they sold all of them.
Oh, wow. People were walking away with those. Yeah. I mean,
that was quite a popular booth. Yeah. I know. I heard Saturday that it was impossible to get in to their area, their exhibit space. But then on Sunday, it wasn't nearly as busy. But then as the convention was winding down, they had an incredibly long line of people that were walking with their stuff. Yeah. Now, as far as other merchandise, I picked up a couple autographs, another one which I'll get to in a second. But Drew Struzan was there again, and you had that infamous interaction with him last year where he kind of
recorded that.
Yeah, he gave you a bit of a hard time.
He scares me,
but I don't know. He seems to show up almost every one of these, but you never know when he's going to decide not to. And so his table, again, it was kind of towards the end of the day on Sunday, didn't have anyone lined up there. So I said, well, I'm going to do it. I'm going to go. I want to go get something from him and sign and meet him. And
I warned you. I warned you. I said, don't do it, Dennis.
you were very kind.
I was cowering in fear in the distance.
Yeah, but if you don't know, he did, some of the Indiana Jones posters. He did a lot of the posters that have come out with video releases of Star Wars. He's done some images that you will definitely recognize. And so I got one from New Hope, and I didn't get the full poster size simply because I have nowhere to put that in my office. Yeah. Most of the art that I'm collecting these days is a much smaller scale, so I can move things around and find some place to put it. But so I paid for the poster, and and they handed it for him to sign. And so he, he made sure he was spelling my name correctly, and then we just chatted. It wasn't about anything in particular. He asked if I was from around there. I said yes, and then somehow we got into the weather with all the hail that had come through, and and we talked about how I tried to come see him last year, and I was hoping to be there before, and so I was glad I didn't miss him. And he kind of intimated that maybe he won't be doing this too many more times. No. So I was glad I got to take advantage of that opportunity.
Okay, because that's the thing. And by the way, I'm tongue in cheek, listeners. I mean, the guy's really great. He's really fun. He just really knew how to twist me around with verbal judo. So he did. But I was kind of sad though, because I was kind of tapped out from autograph cash, and I saw that they had the Revenge of the Jedi. You know what I mean? Poster there, that thing. And I was like, oh, that's one of my favorites. But man, now that you told me that, I'm going to have to try to hunt it down. But I think you can go online also, and he'll sign stuff. And he did a series of commemorative Three Stooges plates that I think those images are out there that I'm kind of think would be a cool gift for somebody. But
yeah, the only other real piece of merchandise I picked up was a gift for my wife. Beth, who's my co-host on Warp Trails, is also a really big Batman fan. And there was a exhibitor that was doing these shadow boxes where he would take a comic book and then kind of cut the elements out. And then I'm not exactly sure what he used, but he would make it. It was a 3-dimensional effect inside the shadow box. And so this was from the new 52 Batman #1. The cover, it's got Batman fighting the Joker. And so the Batman is cut out and set a little bit farther towards the glass, and then Joker, who's kind of in the foreground of the picture, is set a little bit even farther forward towards the glass. So you got a real nice perspective on that. So that was a neat booth to explore. Some comic covers.
That company's out of Waxahachie, Texas. And last year I bought a coaster from them, because they also take panels from comic books and they'll put it on a tile. So it makes it so I've got one of Vader stretching his hands out, from one of the original series. And they basically buy up old comic books that have not sold to do this. So it's not like they're taking, I don't know, like Daredevil 2.
Right. And this was the new 52 #1. This is a fairly recent book that there was tons of. I mean, this one's not going to be funding your kid's college if you sell it anytime soon.
But those are really cool. Great display item.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, it's not really merchandise, but and I didn't get to it earlier when we were talking about some of the celebrities, but while I took a break from shopping and I went down to see if Billy Dee was back at his table, he was not, but Joonas Suotamo was. And so I took that opportunity to wander up to his table, and there was only 2 people in front of me. And so I got to meet him, and he is the new Chewbacca that, he did some of the scenes in The Force Awakens, and then he was Chewbacca in The Last Jedi and is Chewbacca in the upcoming Solo movie. And it could not have been a nicer guy. We talked a little bit about him succeeding Peter Mayhew in the films, and how nice Peter Mayhew's been to him, and how easy it's been to work and take over this role. And then I got my picture taken with him, and I'll have to try and include this picture in the show post. And actually, you and I did an article for RetroZap talking about this convention, so you can find that there as well. And my pictures with him is there. The guy is immense. I don't even think I came up to his armpit. So
he looked like he was swaddling Dennis baby.
Exactly.
In his arms, in his giant Joonas Suotamo arms.
We got one last thing to cover, and I guess no convention is complete without some cosplay. So and I think we have a few interviews around this topic as well.
There was some great cosplay there. We decided to hit that towards the end of the convention, that area, because it was a little easier to get through. And of course, I try to find anybody doing Star Wars cosplay and ask them about their costumes and such, and kind of have a little back and forth fun with them. There was some some people did this Overwatch cosplay that was completely insane. That I don't know how they put it all together, but it was just wow. I don't know all the characters and stuff. My kids play Overwatch, and my kids got to get some autographs from some of the Overwatch voice actors, and then also the Voltron voice actors are there, and they were really interested. The social media team was able to get in there and meet them and come away with some great autographs as well. And then other item to note was the R2 Builders Club had a ton of astromechs there, and one of them, who was in black and red, so I assume it was more of an evil astromech, rolled over my foot.
Oh no.
I was like, ow. But then another one was there, and it had little musical performance that it would do, and so I was able to get some fun video of that and playing the Cantina song. And yeah, so I also want to make sure and mention that we came across a charity that beforehand I had not known about. It's called Extra Life, and their slogan is "Play Games, Heal Kids." And basically, they're sponsoring a day of gaming. And it's going to be November 3rd, 2018. It's a 24-hour marathon of gaming. And I suppose people are supposed to do this and raise money for their local Children's Miracle Network hospital. And then, of course, people were there representing for the Michael J. Fox Foundation to fight Parkinson's disease. So,
right, and that was a whole Back to the Future presence that was at the convention as well. Michael J. Fox was supposed to be there, but unfortunately, I believe he had a health-related issue that kept him from showing up. Yeah. But Christopher Lloyd, Doc Brown, was there. Yeah. They had the DeLorean available for photo ops, and the actor whose name is escaping me, and I feel terrible about this, that played Biff, was there as well. And so Back to the Future was a theme for the weekend, and so that was fun. I didn't get a chance to do my picture with the DeLorean, but I saw a lot of people taking advantage of that. That was fairly popular. And then of course you mentioned the droid builders, but the 501st, the Rebel Legion, and the Mando Mercs were all there, and they were, I think, were they doing the same fundraiser as the Day of Gaming? Because they had a big photo op. You could do it for free, but they were suggesting a donation in order to raise money for one of the children's charities.
Well, I think as a British Pixie Cosplay told us, I think they were with the Michael J. Fox Foundation. They were focusing on that one. For raising their funds. Because she was a Twi'lek.
Well, not just any Twi'lek. She was Ayla Secura. So.
Yeah. Awesome. And that was a great costume, by the way. So... but yeah, I had fun basically from the beginning of the convention, meeting some other podcasts and some other shows and stuff, and getting to chat with them for a little while, to just talking it up with anybody that would stop down to talk with me. And one quick little anecdote before maybe we share some of my experiences with others there. I was walking by the Chuck Norris table, and there were some big security guys standing near Chuck Norris, right, as he's signing. And so I stopped to one of them, and I said, "Hey, may I ask you a question?" And he just kind of looked at me and gave a slight nod. I said, "Are you here to protect Chuck Norris, or is Chuck Norris here to protect you?" And that just cracked them up. It's probably maybe the only time they laughed.
Probably.
So, but yeah. So that was a fun little exchange. And if you guys, if you want to hear some of the other ones, should we play them?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
Hey, this is Darth Taxus. My cell phone is complete crap in this building right now, so I decided to get just a little tape with some people doing some fun with Star Wars. First off, let me tell you, tell us your names, please.
My name's Noah Patton, and I'm in the... What? Yeah, let me just fix that. Want me to do that?
Sorry. Go ahead.
My name's Noah Patton. I'm a local, about south of Dallas, and I'm in the 501st.
501st, all right.
Yep.
Abigail, I'm here with Noah, and I am Juno Eclipse, and that's it.
I like it. So you're dressed as a... Well, first off, let me ask you guys this. Do you like Star Wars?
Yes, I do like Star Wars.
Okay, how much do you like Star Wars?
For me, just a little bit.
Then why are you wearing a Star Trek uniform?
Because I'm here supporting my boyfriend.
And you didn't correct me.
You're done.
Oh.
She is dressed as an Imperial officer, and you are?
I'm a biker scout.
And that's a pretty rad getup you got. You did that all by scratch?
No, some of it. The soft goods are ordered. All the armored kits and the helmet are a kit. You come in basically a rough kit, have to shape them up, assemble all the kit together, and didn't take that long. From start to finish to approval, it was about 3 months.
Wow, that sounds like a lot of work. Can you outsource that?
Some of the stuff you can outsource. Some people like to make all the soft kits, the jumpsuits and everything themselves. I outsourced that to somebody else. For instance, the helmet, I outsourced putting the helmet together because it comes as a plate-based kit, and I felt that was better for somebody else to do.
So are you going to go tricked out at some point with the whole voice?
Some people do, because the biker scouts in the movies actually don't have comms. They just talk through the helmets. But some people still do, and they actually make ones that will actually fit in the mic tip and everything.
Wow, I just just got schooled on some Star Wars knowledge and everything. How about you? What else are you going to do? You said you wanted to be in the 501st? So you were? No?
No.
What, you don't like helping children in hospitals?
Yes.
Yes, you do not like helping people?
Children, yes, I do. But
Oh, okay. Well, how do you like to help children?
any way I can. I don't know.
Do you ever give them candy?
No.
Because you're a stranger and they shouldn't accept. Okay. Well, hey guys, thanks a lot for having some fun. I hope that looks really hot, by the way. And I don't mean like I'm trying to horn in on your boyfriend here. I'm just saying.
I've got fans in my helmet that kind of circulate the air, so that helps.
Well, I think now you got fans out in podcast land. So, all right. See what I did there? Thanks, guys. All right, so this is Lord Taxus again, and I'm on my way out at day one, trying to make my way, and came across two great people who are doing some fun Star Wars costuming. And first, so let me ask you, besides this, do you normally Star Wars?
Oh, all the time, every time.
How do you use Star Wars?
Marathons.
You do marathons? Like running?
Yes.
That just exhausted me asking that. Jesus. I'm sorry, what are your all's names?
I'm Katie.
John.
Oh, great, guys. Did you? So, what do you hope to do when this weekend at the event?
Just dress up and have a good time.
Yeah, pretty much.
Man, a few words, huh?
What's that?
Man, a few words, huh?
Yeah.
I like that. Okay. Are you a woman? Few words.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. So, you're not looking for something specific. You don't want to get a certain autograph or go see a certain event. What's your name, sir? Come on in here.
My name's Cody Dowell.
Okay, I just asked for your first name. That's a little too much information, but that's okay, Cody Dowell. Unless that's your full name. Is that your full name?
Well, without my middle name, but
I don't think we can prove that. So, anyway, you guys have great eyes going on. Where'd you get them?
At my old job.
Was it at a contact lens factory?
No, it's a tattoo shop.
Okay, in a tattoo shop. What about you? Did you get your eyes tattooed at the shop too?
I got mine at a flea market, actually.
Oh, really? That's very brave of you, sir. I hope you disinfected those things. Okay.
I did. Good. They were closed up and everything.
Wonderful.
Got
So,
mine at optometry.
you know what? That is the bluest set of non-colored. I don't know. He's kind of alluring people, so you might just say so. Anyway, so do you have any messages for the Scoundrels at home about Star Wars?
Oh, now I'm on the spot. You go first.
Hope ignites the fire. Never forget.
Okay. Nothing. Well, if it burns too hot, you might have to go see a physician. But thanks, everybody. I will start Taxus. I'm going to sign out. And remember, I hope you don't have to see a physician. Okay, so this is Lord Taxus again, and I was on my way out a second time, and I stopped by the Think Geek store. I can't believe I didn't get here, but I'm with one of the lovely employees, and what's your name?
Jennifer.
Well, Jennifer, that's nice. So I've noticed a lot of people walking around with the BB-8 giant droid. Have a lot of people been buying them?
Absolutely. We brought them down from $200 to $139.99, and honestly, it's a great price. It's a great deal. The BB-8 droid is awesome. It's a hero droid, so it's life-size, which makes it really cool. It's interactive, so it interacts with you and the movies as well.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So how do you feel in general about droid slavery and supporting that?
Oh, droid slavery is not necessarily something I support, but at the end of the day,
droids are
now
people
you made
too.
me really sad. Yeah, I'm thinking about all the droids we put into people's hands so they can abuse them. Man.
No. I bet you they're going to loving homes. You know what? Maybe think of yourself more like a rescue home.
That's what I am. You know what? We foster them. That's very good. Yeah. We take care of them. We love them. We grow them. And once they're ready, we send them off to new homes. And, they're basically like people's children, just like pets.
What do you feed droids to help them grow?
Typically, oil, just like Bender.
Okay.
Futurama.
Okay. Have you ever drank oil?
Yeah. No. Not on a regular basis.
Okay.
I haven't tried it myself.
Not regularly, but on occasion.
No, maybe.
Okay, I drink gasoline one time.
Synthetic a little.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's definitely gets me going.
It's probably the only thing, unnatural that you might want to go for.
Yeah, and, synthetic does not work for these droids, though.
No.
They need organic oil all the way, straight from the ground.
What kind of oil does he take?
So, WD-40.
I'll take that. That's fine. Where do you put the WD-40?
You know, there's a little.
You put it on his ball?
Yeah, on the very bottom of his ball.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, Jennifer, thank you so much for having fun, and that's a great price for these things. You always made me kind of go. I hope they're still
It's really
around.
good. I'm gonna get you to take one home before you leave.
Oh my
No
gosh!
worries.
I got it. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Have a great day.
All right, so we're here on a Sunday. I just got finished getting my Billy D autograph, which was 2.5 hours of totally worth it. I am here with two wonderful, beautiful young ladies.
Oh, thank you.
And what's your name?
Oh, Jennifer.
And your name?
Tamason.
Okay, Tamason. Oh, that's an interesting name. I like that. So what are y'all doing here?
Okay, so we're here talking about Extra Life. It's part of Meeple's solution. They've sort of merged together. Basically, those that like to play games, video games, computer games, board games, which I love. We come together and we help raise money for charities. Each chapter is a little bit different. Here in this area, we raise money for Cook's Children's Hospital. So,
yeah, that's a good one. That's
you know, play and do something good together for the community.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. And Cook's Children's Hospital, I forget what it was. I had a friend one time who they had a child and had special needs and they often had to go to the hospital. Well, she remarked to me, "Isn't this place really fun? It kind of makes you want to come here." And I'm like, "No, not really."
Well, actually, some of the kids from Cook's Children's will participate in the game as well. So you
that is
really
cool.
get to
That
be
is
a part
really
of that.
fun. That was great. I used to game a lot, but now unfortunately I don't have much time to do it. You know.
Priorities.
Priorities.
No.
No, she's a gamer.
Oh, nice.
So,
yes.
big
The good news is this is a specific date you can put on your calendar and say the whole family, we're going to get together and we're going to play whatever it is you like. It could be Settlers of Catan, it could be Minecraft, whatever makes you happy. Set it aside with your friends and help the kids.
That's cool. And so, okay, so I'll make sure I missed that. Is this actually on a one-day thing, or is this a continuous thing where you
So they have continuous days that they do it, but usually it's a 1 day through night, so you can come in whatever works with your schedule and play. So you'll have some people stay all day and night, some that just have a few hours. So.
Cool. That sounds a lot of fun. Now, let me ask you this. What Star Wars character are you?
Myself.
And, okay. And what is this outfit you're wearing that's Star Wars?
Well, I'm a science officer.
I didn't know Star Wars had science stuff. Do you use Star Wars?
I don't Star Wars, I Star Trek.
What is Trek you speak of? I do not know. So, and you, Miss, do you use Star Wars?
Do I like Star Wars?
Or Star Wars?
So my brother-in-law is a part of the 501st, and they're very big on Star Wars.
Yes, they are, of course. Yes, they Star Wars hard, don't they?
Yes, they do. So my mom and I were Trekkies, but my sister and her husband, of course, are Star Wars. So everything. So of course, when we do stuff, we have to be Star Wars themed as well.
Well, there's nothing wrong with liking Star Trek. I said this, Scoundrels. That's a hot space opinion. You heard it here first from your little Dark Lord of the Shtick.
You're only saying that in front of us. But as soon as he walks away, he's going to say, "Just kidding."
Oh no, that's cool. I like the Vulcans.
Yes.
Vulcans.
Yes.
I don't know. Live long and prosper, Texas.
I believe in equal opportunity geekdom. Therefore, Star Wars is acceptable within my household, although Star Trek's cooler.
My sister just bought the Star Wars Risk game, so
pretty cool. My mom has it.
Well, my co-host, and here's a blatant plug alert. My co-host actually does a Star Trek podcast with his wife called Warp Trails, which is about the new Star Trek series, which you've seen, right? The new one.
No, actually.
I'm more of a Trekkie than you are right now.
So the Science Museum will play showings, and you can go there and get dressed up. Well, I went dressed up. I was the only one to watch at the Science Museum. You know, I guess. But that's how come I was wearing my aura.
Did you dress up as a stormtrooper?
No, Star Trek.
Oh, aren't stormtroopers in everything?
I'm sure they're everywhere. You know,
Should
they dance everywhere.
You don't really see. I mean, does Star Trek have any thing like the 501st, the red shirts?
They have have the Federation, which you can join.
Yes. Oh, I love it.
Yeah, you can join the Federation. The Federation Starfleet is a great organization, but I'm personally more partial to Barfleet than Starfleet because if you're going to hang out, you might as well drink.
Sure, why not? It is a national pastime of
Brings
Ireland.
the community together, you know.
It does, and also makes things much more interesting than they usually are. So, thank you all very much for this time, and yeah, this sounds like a great cause. Just one more time, remind my listeners who you are with and what do you do.
Extra Life and then Meeple Solutions.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hey, Darth Taxus here, and I'm just on the convention floor, and who do I run into? But the second Twi'lek that I've run into, the first Twi'lek that I've had the wherewithal to actually stop and talk to. So, tell us your name and maybe your other name.
Sure. So my actual name is Laura.
Okay.
I go by British Pixie cosplay, but this character is Isla Secura from Clone Wars. So
now, have we talked before, Laura? I have the feeling, were you purple one time?
I've been a purple one. That was a custom steampunk version. Different Lekus.
Different Leku, but you know what? I'm not judging the different Lekus. Okay?
Yeah, different Lekus have different meanings.
Yes. Now, these are real, right? They're fabulous.
As real as they can be. You can
do you mind?
You can totally pet them.
Wow, that is amazing. That is amazing.
These are latex.
Oh my gosh.
And they are weighted so they sway.
Wow, that's amazing. I'm just saying.
Pretty crazy.
Only here on Starship, Sabers, and Scoundrels do we explore really the fundamentals of good Leku wear.
Yes.
And so that's
I even got to paint my freckles on.
Yep. That's right. Wow, that is so good. That looks great.
It's been a lot of fun.
We got to get the name of the doctor. So it's Well, thank you very much for this time. Are you having fun at the con?
I am. I'm working with the 501st Rebel Legion today, raising money for Michael J. Fox Arcades Research.
Wow. Okay.
So I've got all my photos, which I'm about to go right over there and make sure everyone donates.
Awesome.
So.
Awesome. Well, thank you very
no
much
problem.
again. I appreciate it.
You have a good day, lovely.
Okay, so here I am. This is Taxus with Starship, Sabers, and Scoundrels, walking around the convention floor and came across another Star Wars cosplayer. And, ma'am, your name is?
Elisa.
Okay, and Elisa, who are you dressed up as?
I'm a slave Leia, and I'm with Salas's crown.
That's cool.
From Star Wars.
Where'd you get him from?
He's from an Kawaki Monkey Lizard adoption agency.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, that's funny. That's funny. So now, where you said you're originally from?
Venezuela.
Venezuela.
Yes.
So are you up here for?
I have been here 3 years.
3 years. Cool. Are you liking it?
Yes,
Okay,
I like
great.
it.
Oh, your English is superb, by the way. So,
thank you.
So, are you a big Star Wars fan in general?
I do.
Okay.
Yes.
How much Star Wars do you do?
Well, I'm part of the Fire First Legion and the Rebel Legion. And
You are?
Yeah.
You're part of them?
Yes.
Okay. So, what are
For
your
3
characters?
years.
Who are your characters?
I have Slave Leia, June Eclipse,
Okay, so this is an actual official function outfit that you're doing then, just not something, okay. Because it's kind of like walking around church in a bikini.
Oh, no.
Something like that. Does it feel a little awkward at all?
No.
Because it does when I do it. So, But now I just keep it at home. I feed the dogs. It's what I wear when I feed the dogs and take them outside. The neighbors love me, I gotta say so.
I bet.
Well, anyway, thank you. Have you done anything really super fun at the convention yet?
Well, actually, I took a picture with Joonas, the new Chewbacca.
Yes?
Yeah,
Yes.
so that
Oh
was
my gosh.
awesome. Because on Friday, I was trying to have a picture with him, and I was in my Rey costume. And I
Great.
couldn't. So today, he saw me in my slave Leia, and he said yes. Yay.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for
You're
your time and
welcome.
everything, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of the convention, and happy Star Wars.
Thank you, Taxu. Happy Star Wars.
Well, yeah, those were some fun experiences. A lot of great cosplay. The only other one I'd mention, the only other two I should say I'd mention right now is that there was one that you and I both stopped and had to take a picture of, and that was a guy dressed up as Storm Shadow from G.I. Joe.
That was cool.
That was fantastic. That's also in that RetroZap article
There was
that you can find.
Spider-Ham.
Spider-Ham was cool.
Yeah.
Yep. And then the other one that caught my attention was the guy that was dressed up as Castiel from Supernatural.
Yeah.
He had the trench coat, the full shirt and tie thing, and then he had wings that were spring-loaded that would come out of his back. That, while they weren't the most realistic wings looking out there, the action he had on those was fantastic. It was a great cosplay. I know a lot of people were stopping to take his picture.
Yeah, and that was really cool. Also, there was somebody had made a homemade Gur costume from Invader Zim. It wasn't the droid; it was the dog zip-up outfit that Gur would wear going around. I thought that was pretty inventive and genius. And but I just want to say, especially, just thanks to everybody that took the time to speak with me. I know some people, you can tell when they're a little apprehensive and everything. And we just like to have fun, and that's the whole thing. That's the whole name of the game for this. So thanks everybody for doing that. And if I could I thank the Scoundrel social media team too, Kyla and Ella. They really helped out. They helped cover everything for us, got pictures. I mean, because we can't be everywhere at once, you know what I mean? Right. And so it really helps out having these extra hands there to convey what's going down at the show to everybody out there, not only the Scoundrels, but also people following RetroZap Networks and RetroZap.com. Really like to thank Joe Tavano for helping us with all this and really organizing RetroZap and allowing us to be a part of it so we can do fun things like this. Right, Dennis?
Absolutely. Yeah. Joe was a big inspiration and a big encouragement on this. And then, of course, a special thanks to Fan Expo itself for having us there as a media guest. Yeah. So, well, that's going to do it then for our review of Fan Expo Dallas 2018. Yeah. Before we go, Taxus, do you have anything else going on for the Scoundrels to look for?
Well, weekly we have the Geek Supreme over in the Assembly Geeks Network. And I, along with Scott Murray, Jeff McGee, and Regina Davis, do a little fun geek-style game show. I think there's a lot of anger from the geeks at me. That's a
little scoring problem
have to be resolved. Well, and also a little punishment. Regina's a little resentful of all the punishment and Michael Bay discussions. But I'd also like to mention that Scott Murray was at the convention too, and I got the chance to run into him and talk for a while, and he gave me popcorn. It was really nice.
Yeah, so, and he of course was on episode 50 with us not too long ago.
Yes, he was.
All right. Well, make sure you look out for the latest from Jay on Coffee with Kenobi on both her blog and her Core Worlds Couture column. She also was on a recent episode of Legends Library that she is really pretty proud of. Definitely give that a listen. They talked about was it Wishful Drinking, one of Carrie Fisher's novel on that one. And she had a really good time with that. As for me, I have some recent comic reviews on RetroZap, including Darth Vader number 14, which is really good. If you want some really great Star Wars stories right now, Darth Vader is where it's at. Star Wars 46, which is also pretty good. And then I've been doing a series on the lead up to Avengers Infinity War, where I've been looking back at the comic book series that inspired it all, and that would be the Infinity Gauntlet. And I just had my review of Infinity Gauntlet number 4 put out there. Awesome. And then lately, I've also been showing up on Jedi Journals, and I was on April's episode talking about the trade paperback for Darth Vader number 1 through 6. Now, that story was the chosen one in the individual comics. They've collected it under the trade paperback, The Imperial Machine. So check that out. We had a really good time. So anyway, if you want to find us on social media, we are at SQPod on Twitter and Instagram, and on Facebook at facebook.com/SQPod. You can email us at sqpod@retrozap.com. You can follow Darth Taxus on Twitter at Darth Taxus. Jay is at Joyce Krebs, and I am at DJKVER2. Speaking of RetroZap, we are a proud part of the RetroZap.com podcast network. The network currently features 21 shows. You can subscribe to the network feed and get them all.
Yeah.
Well, that's going to do it for this Scoundrel Special Edition. We'll talk to you all soon with another edition of Starship, Sabers, and Scoundrels. Again, it's a really big one, and you're not going to want to miss it.
No.
So, until then, may the Force be with you.